Welcome back, everyone. I am joined with Nick, and we have the round four. This is the Cornerstone that was played at the Utden Troll Cup in Leeuwarden, Netherlands. And this round four is a matchup that I know very well and I quite enjoyed. We're going to have Iso on Archimago against Wout on Steam Druid, so Firewater Druid. So let's take a look at the deck list.
Yeah, so it has been a while. We have to wait till round four actually to get a classical Archimago versus Druid setup. So, Geoffrey, this one is a little bit different than what I have seen you playing.
Yeah, generally there's two school of thoughts for Archimago. People generally agree that earth and air are really, really good colors, but you'll see that a lot of lists also go in splash fire for cards like Poison Nova or Great Famine. This list decided to stay in air earth. So it's a pretty standard Archimago list, except you're not going to have access to those fire cards. The goal is to survive the early game, get to the mid and late game, and then finish the game with powerful spells like Guards or Craterize or Retin's Titan.
But the overall concept is very similar, I presume. Just dominate, stay alive. Any life gain effects here? Because I don't see the
Yes.
eggs here.
Yeah, the eggs aren't. This could be a meta call because Swap was in the meta at the Utden Troll Cup, but you have your classic 3 Divine Healing. You still have a ring, I assume. Izo decided, like, yeah, Swap is here, but ring is too good to sacrifice.
Okay. And his opponent, also somebody we know very well in Europe, it's Wout on Steam Druid. Um, any special differences here to the list that Felix was playing some time ago?
Yeah, I would say nothing too crazy. It's a very standard list of Steam Druid. The couple of things that jump to mind are maybe the Sir Mordred. 6 mana is usually a slot where you might see Infernal Legion. So Sir Mordred differs a little bit. I think Monstrous Lion is also sometimes in, sometimes out. It's really good in certain matchups. But in other, especially like Archimago, it's a bit harder to make it work. So
Okay.
the rest of the list is pretty standard. You're looking at very demanding thresholds. You have like a lot of 3 or even 4 pips for mesmerism. So all of your sites basically provide threshold, even though you're in 2 colors. And you play many, many uniques. This deck has a very high density of unique cards, so you have very swingy games where maybe you combine 2 of these uniques together and assemble very powerful effects. Things like Plague of Frog and Boudica, or Plague of Frog in Manuscript, or Plague of Frog and Sir Agravain. If you can tell, Plague of Frog is pretty good.
Okay, and then finally we had an update on Curiosa. So Swap is now into the decklist, so we don't have to swap it out for something else. So that makes our life a little bit different. Okay, without further ado, let's jump into our first game. And as always, Jeffrey, is there a favorite here to win?
You know what? That might surprise people, but I actually think the matchup is really close.
Okay.
It depends on how much the Steam Druid built his deck specifically for this matchup. If you make all of the decisions you can in deck building specifically for the Archimago matchup, it's almost Steam Druid favored, which I know some people might not realize. So, looking at the deck list, I actually expect a very close game here, and it's really hard to say who's going to come out on top.
Okay. Well, I think that is why also Steam Druid was that popular in a very dominant Archimago environment. I think Steam Druid eventually also pushed through. I think if you looked at the stats also at the Crossroads, but also here at the Cornerstone, Druid is also fun to play. I mean, it's faster, it's less taxing. I don't know, is that true? Is it less taxing than playing Archimago?
I would say so. I think Archimago is one of the decks that has the most decision points. Every time you cast a common sense, you have so many options to go get. You basically have 2 hands in the mid game between your actual hand and your graveyard, so there's a lot of decisions to be made, and sometimes just making the wrong decision once is enough to lose you the game. So I'd say so.
I see there on Archimago's site the pebbled paths on the right location. How problematic is this?
It's a really good card in this matchup because Team Druid has a lot of charge minions, and this is something that Wout is going to have to play around somehow. 13 is really the best position for Pebble Path because that's how you capture the most locations. So I expect Wout to build to a side to be able to get rid of the Pebble Path and maybe find angles and attack from location 11 or 15, really. And so we saw a Vilimp and a Tawny being killed by a magic missile. And then with the extra mana from the tower, we actually had 4 this turn. So we're also going to blink up, which I'm a bit surprised to see.
Does
One,
that
because there's a Vesuvius on board, so you're directly in the range of the Vesuvius now. And
so?
two,
Does it, sorry,
because,
does that
yeah,
imply that he has a ring in hand? Because that is the thing I just think about.
it could be. It could very well be. I still think it's risky because you're now vulnerable to the Vilimps, to the Kobolds, to the Vesuvius, to the Monstrous Lion, which otherwise is a very hard card for Wout to make use of in this matchup. So, yeah, it could be that he's telegraphing a ring. Um, we saw an artifact being played, which is not the ring, which is the Peace Stone. And I think that the side that has just been played, I believe, is a Wormellotump, or was it a sinkhole?
Ah, it looked to me that it was a sinkhole.
Interesting. And then we're going to play Common Sense. It will cost 1 mana because of the Philosopher's Stone. I believe this is the first Earth spell being cast this turn. Single is not a card you see a lot in Archimago, mostly because many Archimago lists go 3 colors, and if you do go 3 color, it's really hard to make room for a colorless side. But given Easel's list is actually 2 colors, he can afford, a couple, like 2 or 3 of the colorless sites. And if that's the case, then Sinkhole isn't bad. It can get rid of like an annoying site that you might not have an answer to.
So, for the people who watched the other rounds, we widened the board a little bit so we can have a good look at the cemetery because, of course, with Archimago, it's very important. And we see it already filled with common senses and blink, your typical cards that you also want to see, right? In the beginning, thinning out your deck, finding, like, I think he took a bury just because he will need it definitely, and he also has 2 in the deck. So just thinning out, and you just want to have a lot of cards in your graveyards.
Here we see one of the key card in the matchup in favor of Team Druid being able to play Funeral Pyre. So Funeral Pyre on Genesis allows you to banish up to 3 cards in graveyards, which is very powerful against Archimago. So that graveyard that was looking really full is now back down to just the 1 common sense, and that can be huge.
Yeah, and it's remarkable if I look at Wout's decklist that he actually only plays two funeral pyres.
Yeah, they're only really good in certain matchups. So, sometimes in other matchups, especially in the mirror match, they really don't do much and you'd like to see something else. And we see a late arrival of this Wormellotump. I'm sure Iso would have loved to have that last turn because that would have actually protected his cemetery. But better late than never. And this is actually a pretty slow start on Wout's side because we know how explosive Steam Druid can be, and we haven't really seen that yet. So I'm wondering what the bottleneck is.
So, because you have a lot of experience playing Archimago, is that the most dangerous? That's Steam Druid goes ultra fast, or is it better to wait a little bit and then just try to overwhelm very quickly?
Yeah, that's the scary part with Steam Druid. Both are equally scary.
Okay.
Sometimes they'll have hands where they completely take you by surprise and go too fast for you. And sometimes they'll have hands where they can actually go a little bit slower and look to assemble a combo of unique instead. And that makes it really hard to play around because when you do your mulligan, when you keep your initial cards as Archimago, you don't know which type of game it's going to be. Is it going to be one where they go really fast, or is it going to be one where they're going to rely on, a combination of powerful uniques? Speaking of powerful uniques,
Phew.
Boudica hit the board and immediately enabled Tony to attack for 4 instead of 1.
That card is so devastating, and you see also Watt trying to play it as far as possible and on a water side because he knows there is a bury in hand, so let's protect it. And if you cannot get rid of Boudica, that is such a big issue.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that this might have been a slight mistake on Izzo's side to common sense for a bury without needing the bury just yet, because you're giving your opponent free information. We see the ring here, so good intuition on your part to guess that this was somewhere around if we were taking a step up. And then we're going to see a Dispel. That's actually the, I believe, the Cornerstone kit alternate art Dispel. We're going to see it cast on a location where it does nothing, just because we want the ring trigger to kill the Tawny.
Yeah, I was
Invited for
really
16.
wondering like why what did I miss? But it's just it's just to have just a ping for one, basically.
Yeah. And
Wow.
that's, okay, we're seeing the combination of uniques I was talking about. Boudica is already scary on its own, but if you combine it with the Ruler of Thule, that is a swing for a lot of damage. I believe that's going to bring... So it's going to be 6 from the Ruler and then 7 from Boudica, so taking 13 just from 2 units.
So he's at 2, right? At 3, I think. He gained 1 life. He
So
was
I
at 19,
think...
15, 16 taking, so I think he's at 3 life.
Or did I miscount? 3... Oh, you know what? I think Boudica says other allies,
Okay.
maybe? So I think he's at... let me do the math quickly.
So 7 from Ruler of Tool.
Yep. 6 from Ruler of Thule. And then
Of course,
Boudica
6.
is going to be 4. Yeah.
Yeah, so
So that
that's
should
10.
be 10, so 7. Yeah. And then there has been a couple of other things being cast. So there was a bury to get rid of one of the 2 units, plus a ring ping, so bringing some life back up. And then the second copy of the bury has been cast as well on the other unit. So that should have brought him to 8.
Okay.
And then the Rebex being played from out attacks for 4, bringing the Archimago down to 4.
Okay.
So the ring doing a lot of work, trying to stabilize the situation, but the damage really has been done from Wout. I think if the Archimago manages to get rid of your unit after they've already done their thing, it's a bit too little too late, unless you see the big swingy spells like Divine Healing. So I think we're going to look for these if we're Archimago here. We have 5 mana, and we can see the hand. It's a core, a power flight, and an earthquake. And with 5 mana and a Philosopher's Stone, we can actually play the power of flight to draw a card, see what we get. And then even if we don't find a better answer, we can still fire the earthquake and get rid of the 2 minions here. So I think we're going to see a line close to that, I assume.
Yeah, I believe so.
I really want to maximize the number of ring triggers you get here, because being on 4 against Steam Druid is not pleasant.
So he could also have taken a step to the side and just bury, I think. Oh no, it's just only the earthquake. Okay, I mistakenly saw that bury. So yeah, earthquake makes sense.
I'm surprised we didn't see the power of flight first. Because 1, it's an extra ring trigger. 2, you could actually find something better than the earthquake to continue doing more ring triggers. Like, for example, if you drew a common sense of the power of flight, then you can common sense for a bolt or something and keep your earthquake for later. And and you would generate more ring triggers than the earthquake. You'd get to the same outcome on board, but I think you'd be on 7 or something along those lines.
Yeah, I
Now,
agree. Perhaps he's like, town is coming back, so I just want to have cheap removal. I'll ping for 1, but it's really dangerous to be at 5 life.
yeah, something Earthquake allows here is to bring the desert that I think has been flipped, but is still under Wout's control. Bring the desert closer to the pebble path. So where Wout's actually opened up an angle by having a desert on 11, replacing that desert back on 12 means the pebble path is now active on that one.
That seems to be a plague of frogs.
Yep. So there's been a choice card played, which gives the 3rd water threshold, meaning we can finally use that plague of frogs. And I don't know how long Wout's been holding on to that one. I'm sure he would have loved it in combination with Boudica, but it sounds like this was not meant to be.
Yeah, because now Boudica is gone. Also, Rule of Tool is gone, which is the 2 activation spells for the frog. So, of course, now the manuscript will draw a lot of cards. But yeah, he's placing the frogs elsewhere. So it's also like fodder for the Ring of Morgan to gain a lot of life. So a bit curious about it.
Yeah, there's still Sir Agravain that can make use of the frogs, because if the frog decide to attack the Archimago and Sir Agravain is nearby, he's going to strike for each of them.
Yeah.
But that's really the last combo piece, damage-wise, and then you have manuscripts, as you mentioned. You're almost never going to use the frogs for blocking in this matchup, because the Archimago doesn't really present a lot of attacks, usually.
Yeah, something is upright. I mean, if you're at 5 lives, so I think the good thing is that you're still alive because it is a Dajon's position, and now we see that actually sidestep, and now, of course, he will start gaining some lives back.
Yeah, I actually think it might be an attack, because this desert, it's been flipped the other way, but it's
Correct.
still the Druids. So we're drawing first blood, and yeah, I think we're going to try and feed on these frogs with the Ring of Morrigan. So we're going to see a core, and that's a ring trigger. I assume we're going to see the Power of Flight, because that's a ring trigger and another card.
And for only 1 mana, you definitely want to see that extra card also.
Yeah. It's fodder for your graveyard. Like, this card is just here. Oh, we pass. I'm very surprised by that.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's been holding on to the Power of Flight for something. I don't know if there's a master plan behind it. But
Is he scared like another funeral pyre or something? Like, hey, I want to keep it in hand just to be able to perhaps directly use my cemetery again?
well,
Ooh,
with the Warmillow Tump, he's not vulnerable to the pyres anymore.
correct,
So
indeed.
that wouldn't be a Morgana. So we go unique after unique on the Wild side. We played a Ruler, a Boudica, a Plague of Frog, and now we see Morgana to refill the hand.
Morgana, what a card. How many times have I felt like, okay, I think I'm stabilizing, I think I'm good, and then they cast Morgana. And it's like, back to the drawing board, here we go.
Yeah, it's been cast on a location where it's alone, so you have to worry about a lightning bolt. But I think Wout's probably thinking, okay, if there was a common sense in Ezel's hand, he would have played it already. So he would need to naturally have a lightning bolt, which is a bit, rarer, I guess. I'm gonna throw a Vilimp for 2 damage.
And the Violin is actually cast from Morgana.
Yeah, that broke stealth, and we see a Warhorse as well. So there's still an angle of attack for charge minion. That's from location 6. So that's gonna bring Ezel down to 2. So things are getting dicey here. There's still one card under Morgana.
Yeah, honestly, just the ring is not cutting it, right? The ring gives you a lot of life, but if you don't find the answers or just one divine healing, it's really like a Morgana just provides so much extra cards and does damage. It's a tough spot for Easy to be in right now.
And this is why I would have liked to see the power of flight earlier, because it would just accelerate you towards other cards, right? And knowing what you have, like right now, that power of flight is a question mark in your hand. Is that a divine healing behind it? That changes how you play, right? Is that a common sense, and then you can start chaining the common senses and get ring pings after each? That would totally change the game. But until you play, you don't know what that card is going to do for you, because it's just a cantrip as is.
It looks like a lightning bolt, if I'm not mistaken.
So we saw a Titan played on 11 plus a ring ping brings him up to 3. And we see the bolt. So getting Ring of Morgana plus another ring ping that is going to go, I assume,
Yeah,
face or frog.
yeah, I think it killed the violin, right? The first
Oh, yes.
from the Titan and then the second one. So it's like cleanup duty, nicely done.
Yeah.
But being at 4 life, that is still scary. And the Druid is advancing as well.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty big tell that something is coming if the Druid decided to take a step last turn. It could be that he just wants to be able to attack with his head if he has a couple trinkets, maybe. It could be something like a Shadow Strike. Oh, we're going... Okay, we're not attacking the Pebble Path. Oh. Unless...
So is this an instance where you would flip for Bruin?
No, I don't think so. Because it doesn't do anything for you that turn. And you would actually lose tempo. I would like to see an attack on the Pebble Path here.
Just getting the 1 damage in.
Yeah, I mean, clearly the Archimago doesn't have Divine Healing. Otherwise, he would have fired it now. So any damage counts. And you can use your life as a resource if you're Druid here. Like, yeah, you might start to see ring triggers on your face, but like, so what? You need to close the game, right?
Yeah, tense moment. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so that makes sense. That's an attack for 2. And the Shadow Strike. Perfect. We saw the line. That's Death's Door. You can get rid of a pesky artifact. I actually wonder... Yeah, Ring is probably still the call. I was going to say, now that the Archimago's on Death's Door and the life gain doesn't matter, do you want to go for the Peace Stone instead? But I think the Rings makes sense.
Yeah, it just damage, right? You just want to get your minions and you just want to stay alive. So stay near to the Archimago. The big work has been done. Now I see that actually there was only 1 Shadow Strike in Watt's
Oh,
deck.
wow. Yeah.
So that was a very good combination to get the final 4 damage in.
I mean, that deck does a lot of 2 damage very easily. I think he plays a full playset of Vilimp. I assume he plays the Kobold. So the moment the Archimago is adjacent to one of the Druid side, 4 damage goes really, really quickly. Shadow Strike is the cherry on top, being able to remove an artifact. Do we have a way out if we're... Oh, I think we just drew the Divine Healing. That is very unfortunate. But again, I hate to call it out, but if the Power of Flight was cast last turn, he would have seen the Divine Healing and healed, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if he's thinking that he needs an allied minion on board to cast it, and that's why he's been holding on to it.
That is possible. Yeah. So for the people who don't know, you can just cast Power of Flight, draw a card, even if there is no minion. That is probably what happened here.
Yeah, because he's cast it now that he has the Titan, and he clearly pointed to the Titan. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if he's restricted himself on the use of Power Flight, because seeing a Divine Healing a turn earlier when you can actually double cast it would have probably turned the game around.
Yeah, that's probably it.
A Titan is hard to answer, and you would have almost gotten all the way back to 20 along with the ring triggers.
And that is so painful, right? You're waiting for the divine healing, and the moment you go to that door, then you draw it. Just when it has to become a lost card, you actually, so it's Lady Fortuna laughing in your face. And in all reality, like if you are in, here we go. That was a
Yeah.
quick disintegrates, and
Yeah.
it's Saracen
Remove the
Raiders to
only
finish it up.
blocker, and the Raider can attack from location 6. And so the game goes to this Team Druid.
All right, Geoffrey. Oh, the card is still there. That was the finisher one, the hero. Was this a typical game?
I would say so. I think, you saw early aggression from the Steam Druid, and that's very typical. Unique after unique, that's also what the deck is trying to do. And then Archimago on the verge of stabilizing, and this is how the game goes. Sometimes you have it, and you get the Divine Healing, you go back up, and then you're in control, and sometimes you're just missing it by a couple turns, and the Steam Druid takes it. So I would say so.
Yeah, that is live game is so important, especially without any eggs, and then divine healing is just key. All right, this was round number 4. Don't go anywhere because we will see Wout and perhaps ISO again somewhere later because they already are in a high score. This was round number 4. Round number 5, we will actually see another Druid and playing against, not for the last time, another Wave Shaper. So looking forward to that one, and then we will go to the top 8.